I want to start today by asking you to do something a little different. If you're driving or, operating heavy machinery, obviously keep your eyes open, stay focused.
Please do.
But if you're in a safe place, I want you to just close your eyes for a second and visualize a specific moment with me.
Okay.
Picture this. You're sitting opposite someone. It could be anywhere. A bustling cafe, a quiet corner of a bar, maybe some high-stakes networking event. And this person sitting across from you is, well, they're stunning.
And we don't just mean physically attractive, right? It's not just about their looks.
No, exactly. It's more than that. It's this kinetic energy. They look you right in the eye, they smile, they lean in, and suddenly the rest of the room just sort of fades away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say something that just hits you right in the chest. They say, "You are the most fascinating person I have ever met." And the scary part, you believe them.
You believe them because
Yeah.
they're acting like it's the absolute gospel truth. They're asking about your childhood. They're listening, really listening to your dreams, your fears. They aren't checking their watch. They're not glancing at their phone. It feels like you are the only two people in the entire universe.
It feels electric. You feel seen. You feel understood. It's that intoxicating feeling of, finally, I found my soulmate, or, I found the perfect business partner who actually gets my vision. It feels perfect.
And that is exactly why you should be terrified.
That's the twist. Because according to the material we are diving into today, that perfect stranger, they're not falling in love with you.
Nope.
They aren't awestruck by your business acumen. They're hunting you.
That is the harsh reality we really need to confront today. We're unpacking Surrounded by Psychopaths by Thomas Erikson. Now, our listeners will definitely recognize that name. He's the one who wrote the massive global bestseller, Surrounded by Idiots.
Which we covered previously, and we loved it. That book gave us the 4 colors of human behavior, red, yellow, green, and blue. But it was all about communication. It was about understanding that, when your boss acts like a jerk, they might just be a red personality type who prioritizes results over feelings.
Right, it was about friction.
Exactly, friction.
Surrounded by Idiots was about misunderstandings. It was about how a red clashes with a green, or yellow clashes with a blue, simply because they have different operating systems. But this book, this deep dive, is about something much, much darker.
It's not about misunderstanding anymore.
No, it's about predation.
That's a chilling distinction. So the mission for today is pretty clear. We're not just learning about personality types, we're learning self-defense. We're going to look at how manipulators exploit those very behavior patterns we've learned about. Our kindness, our ambition, our loyalty to destroy us.
And I think the so what here is crucial for everyone listening. We often think of our personality traits as just who we are, right? But to a psychopath, your personality traits are just entries in a user manual.
A user manual on how to dismantle you.
Precisely. If you're a helpful person, they see a servant. If you're a dominant person, they see a challenge to be toppled. This deep dive is about taking that user manual back so it can't be used against you.
Okay, so let's unpack the reality of this. Because I think when most of us hear the word psychopath, we go straight to Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter, exactly. We think of serial killers. We think of people in straitjackets or, high-security prison cells.
And that is probably the most dangerous myth of all. The idea that psychopaths are all violent criminals rotting in jail. It basically gives the real psychopaths a free pass to operate in our daily lives.
Right.
Thomas Erikson spends a lot of time in the book just dismantling this. The reality is that the vast majority of psychopaths are not in prison. They're in our offices. They're in our homeowners associations. They might even be in your family.
The statistics he presents are actually shocking. I mean, we're talking about 2 to 4% of the general population.
It sounds like a small number until you actually do the math on your own life. 2 to 4%. That is, believe it or not, significantly more common than having a heart attack.
Wow.
It's more common than getting cancer. It's certainly way more common than becoming a millionaire. So if you work in a mid-sized company with, say, 100 people, statistically, there are 2 to 4 people walking those halls right now who fit this exact profile.
That really puts it in perspective. We spend so much time worrying about our health, eating kale, going to the gym to prevent a heart attack.
Did buy insurance for our cars.
Right. But we spend almost zero time preparing for the fact that a significant percentage of the people we meet are actively trying to exploit us.
Erikson uses the fantastic analogy. He talks about a shepherd. So imagine you have a flock of 1,000 sheep. And, statistically, there are 2 wolves lurking in the vicinity.
Okay.
Now, do you spend all your time studying the sheep? Do you analyze their wool quality and grazing habits?
Yep.
Or do you study the wolf?
You have to study the wolf. You need to know how the wolf thinks, how it moves, how it picks its prey, if you want to protect the flock.
Exactly. And that's what this book is. It's a study of the wolf. And the very first thing to understand about the wolf or the psychopath is that they don't fit into that normal color system we learned. They're not just a really intense red or a really selfish yellow.
This was such a fascinating part of the book. Erikson talks about this encounter he had at a university lecture. He's just finished his talk on the red, yellow, green, and blue types, and this young man comes up to him. And the way Erikson describes him, it just gives you the creeps. It has that, that uncanny valley feeling.
The description is really unsettling. This young man, he pushes past other people who were waiting. He stands way too close, which, by the way, violating personal space is a huge tell. It's a dominance move.
Right.
And he tells Erikson, I don't fit any of your colors. I'm a fifth color.
A fifth color. And he didn't mean it in a, oh, I'm unique and special and creative way.
Not at all.
He meant it in a cold, calculating way. He asked Erikson specifically, how can I take advantage of this knowledge?
That phrase right there, take advantage. That's the smoking gun.
Yeah.
A normal person asks, how can I communicate better? Or how can I understand my boss so we stop arguing?
Yeah.
This young man wanted a weapon. And Erikson describes this guy's behavior. He had this fake on-off smile. He'd stare intensely at Erikson. Then someone would walk by and snap. He'd flash this dazzling, warm smile, then snap right back to the dead stare.
It's like a mask slipping for a second. And the aftermath of this story is just tragic. Erikson finds out later that this fifth color guy was an employee at the university. He ended up embezzling nearly $100,000. But that wasn't enough for him. He impregnated 2 coworkers, got one of them fired for sexual harassing him, mind you, which is a classic reversal tactic,
Oh, wow.
and drove other staff members to chronic fatigue and sick leave.
It was absolute scorched earth. And here's the kicker. He almost framed the department head for the embezzlement. The department head, a man with 38 years of service, was literally weeping when he told Erikson the story.
That's awful.
This young man destroyed that entire department. And then he didn't go to jail. He moved on to a high-paying job at an IT company.
So he wasn't a fifth color. He was something else entirely.
Correct. Erikson argues that psychopaths aren't a color. They aren't red, yellow, green, or blue. They are chameleons.
Chameleons.
They're shadows. They simply mirror whatever color the person in front of them is. If you're a red, they act red to gain your respect. If you're a green, they act soft and supportive to gain your trust. They don't have a genuine personality. They have a persona constructed for the sole purpose of getting what they want.
And we need to clarify something really important here, because the term psychopath gets thrown around a lot in arguments. Oh, my ex is such a psychopath because he forgot my birthday.
Right.
But we're talking about a clinical distinction here, specifically regarding mental illness.
This is a critical point.
Yeah.
Psychopathy is not a mental illness in the way we typically understand it, like depression or schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. People with those conditions suffer. They're often in a lot of pain. They often want help to feel better.
A psychopath doesn't suffer.
No.
Right? The book makes that distinction crystal clear. They don't suffer. They make others suffer.
Exactly. They are rational. They are calculating. They know exactly what the difference between right and wrong is. They just don't care. They view themselves as being higher on the food chain. To them, we are the sheep and they are the wolves. They don't feel guilty about eating a sheep any more than you feel guilty about eating a hamburger.
It's just nourishment.
It's just nourishment. They feel entitled to use you.
That is a terrifying thought. The idea of someone looking at you, not as a human being, but as a resource to be mined.
Mined and discarded.
So if they look like us and act like us, how in the world do we spot them? The book relies really heavily on Robert D. Hare's checklist. This is basically the gold standard for identifying psychopathy, right?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's the PCLR, the Psychopathy Checklist Revised. It's a scoring system that professionals use. You rate a person on 20 different traits. 0 means it doesn't apply, 1 means it applies sometimes, and 2 means it applies all the time. The max score is 40.
And what's the threshold for being a full-blown psychopath?
In the U.S., a score of 30 or above is the clinical cutoff. But Erikson warns, and this is important, that you don't need a 30 to have your life completely ruined. Even a score of 15 to 20 indicates a person with significant psychopathic tendencies. That's someone you really, really need to watch out for.
Okay, let's dive into some of these traits, because a checklist is only useful if we know what we're looking for in the real world.
The first one that just jumped out at me was glib and superficial charm.
This goes right back to our perfect stranger in the intro. Psychopaths are often incredibly verbal. They talk fast, they have great vocabularies, they're entertaining, they're the life of the party.
Hmm.
But if you listen closely, it's superficial. It's a performance. They flatter you excessively because they know flattery disarms people. Normal people, we usually have moments of awkwardness or silence in a conversation. A psychopath is on all the time.
Then there's the grandiose self-worth.
Oh, yeah. This is the core belief that they are fundamentally better than everyone else. It's not just confidence. It's a God complex.
Yeah.
They believe they're above the rules. Rules are for little people.
Or the sheep.
For the sheep, exactly. They truly believe they are entitled to whatever they want. Your money, your position, your partner. If they steal your idea at work, they don't think they stole it. They think they deserved it because they're smarter than you. And that ties right into pathological lying. Now, we all tell white lies, oh, I love your haircut, or sorry I'm late, traffic was just awful. But this is different.
Completely different. For a psychopath, lying is like breathing. They will lie even when the truth would serve them better. They lie just to see if they can trick you.
Really?
It gives them a thrill, a sense of power, something called duping delight. The feeling of, I told this person the sky is green and I made them believe it. It proves their superiority. It's a game to them.
One of the heaviest ones on the list is lack of empathy. And I think this is where people get confused. Because if they lack empathy, how can they be so charming? How do they know exactly what to say to make me feel so special?
That is the empathy paradox. Psychopaths have what we call cold empathy or cognitive empathy. They can intellectually understand what you are feeling.
So they can read the room.
Perfectly. They know that if you're crying, you're sad. They know that if they say, I love you, you will feel happy. They can read the data, but they don't feel it. It doesn't resonate in their own emotional center. To them, a crying victim is just interesting or maybe annoying, but it's never heartbreaking.
It's like an alien studying humans. They know which buttons to push, but they don't care about the machinery inside.
That's a perfect analogy. And because they don't care, they often live what Hare calls a parasitic lifestyle. This is a huge, huge red flag in dating or business.
The person who never has the wallet.
Every single time. Oh, I left my wallet in the car, or my bank account is frozen because of some misunderstanding. They will borrow money they never ever return. They will live in your house without paying rent. They view your resources as their resources.
So if you have a car?
It's their car. If you have savings, it's their savings. They feel completely entitled to your support.
And finally, let's touch on promiscuity. The book mentions this is linked to their need for stimulation.
A high need for stimulation, very low impulse control, and zero guilt. It's a perfect recipe for infidelity. They treat relationships like conquests. Once they've won you, they get bored, and they need a new shiny object. They often have this long history of short, turbulent relationships.
And it's always the other person's fault.
Always. My ex was crazy, my ex was obsessive. If everyone in their past was crazy, well, you got to start looking at the common denominator.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, or maybe concerning for those of us with ambitious careers. The book lists the professions with the highest concentration of psychopaths.
Yes. This is based on research from Kevin Dutton. And it's
Yeah.
not prison guards or executioners like you'd think. The #1 profession, CEO.
CEO, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Followed by lawyers, media and TV personalities, salespeople, and surgeons.
Surgeons. That feels counterintuitive. They save lives.
Think about it, though. To cut into a human body requires a certain level of detachment. You can't be weeping over the patient while you're trying to operate. It's high stress, high stakes, godlike control over life and death.
That makes sense.
It attracts that personality type. Now, it doesn't mean all surgeons are psychopaths, obviously, but the role rewards that emotional disconnection.
And CEOs and lawyers, that makes a lot of sense. Power, control, the ability to make ruthless decisions without losing any sleep over it.
Exactly. Capitalism, to a degree, actually rewards psychopathic traits. Ruthlessness gets rebranded as decisiveness.
Making the tough call.
Making the tough calls. Lack of empathy is what allows you to fire 5,000 people to save the stock price. Wall Street cheers. A normal person would vomit with guilt. A psychopath just goes out for a nice dinner.
The book even brings up U.S. presidents. There was a study on something called fearless dominance, which is a key component of psychopathy.
Right. And guess who scored the highest? JFK and Bill Clinton. Incredible charisma, incredible ability to withstand pressure, but also very high risk-taking and well-documented promiscuity.
And on the other end of the spectrum,
Presidents like Jimmy Carter and Abraham Lincoln scored very low on psychopathy. They were driven more by a sense of moral duty than by that kind of fearless dominance.
And of course, if you take that fearless dominance to its absolute extreme, you get the dictators.
Hitler, Saddam Hussein, Henry VIII. History is essentially a long list of psychopaths who grabbed power and didn't care who they hurt to keep it. It goes right back to the wolf analogy. If a wolf is strong enough and the sheep are passive enough, the wolf becomes the king.
Speaking of wolves, Thomas Erikson shares a really deeply personal story in the book about his own encounter with a psychopath. It wasn't a dictator, it was a stalker. And this story, it really shook me because of how quickly it all escalated.
It's a textbook case of how a psychopath operates when they're denied what they want. It started so innocently. An aspiring writer contacted Erikson for some advice on her manuscript.
And he gave a standard, polite, "No, thank you, I'm too busy" response.
And that rejection triggered a war. It wasn't just that she kept emailing. She escalated to full-blown delusions. She started emailing his partner, his girlfriend at the time, claiming that she and Thomas were getting married.
That's insane.
She claimed Thomas was having affairs with over 100 women and had gotten 20 of them pregnant.
Which is, physically impossible in the time frame she described, but that didn't matter.
Truth doesn't matter to a psychopath. Impact does. The goal was destruction. And the impact was absolutely devastating. It destroyed his relationship. His partner developed severe paranoia. She was checking social media constantly, just terrified of this woman.
Erikson mentions that one psychopath can create around 50 victims. It's all the collateral damage.
Exactly. It wasn't just him. It was his partner, his partner's children, his colleagues, his family. Everyone gets dragged into the chaos.
And the climax of that story is the most revealing part.
Yes. The police finally got involved. They brought the woman in for questioning, and instantly, the second they got involved, the harassment stopped.
Which proves she wasn't crazy in the sense that she couldn't help herself.
Exactly. If she were suffering from some kind of compulsion or a psychosis, she wouldn't be able to just turn it off because the police showed up. She stopped because the costs suddenly became too high. It was a calculated campaign. When the calculation changed, the behavior changed. That is the hallmark of a psychopath.
So we know what they are. We know they're out there. Now we have to look at ourselves. The book breaks down how psychopaths target specific personality types using that DISC system.
Oh.
So let's do a quick refresher on the colors.
Sure. So you have red, dominant, fast-paced, task-oriented, the alpha.
Right.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Influential, creative, talkative, relationship-oriented. The joker or the social butterfly.
Okay.
Green. Stable, patient, conflict-averse. The team player, this is the most common type. And finally, blue, compliant, analytical, detail-oriented, the perfectionist.
Okay, let's start with the reds, the alphas. You'd think they would be hard to manipulate because they're so tough and suspicious.
You would think so, but they have a massive blind spot, impatience and ego. A red wants results, and they want them now. They hate getting bogged down in details. So a psychopath just mirrors that energy. They walk in, firm handshake, look the red right in the eye and say, I have a deal that will make us millions, but we have to move fast. No time for all that boring paperwork.
They exploit the red's desire for speed.
Precisely. The red thinks, finally, someone who moves at my pace, and they skip due diligence.
Yeah.
The book tells this story about a red boss who is yelling at an employee for underperforming, really tearing it.
Okay.
And then, mid-yell, he looks at his watch and asks, have you gotten lunch yet?
Because for the red, it's not personal. They separate the person from the issue.
Exactly. But a manipulator sees that and realizes this person doesn't care about feelings. They only care about utility. If I can prove I'm useful and fast, I can get away with murder. The psychopath becomes the red's fixer. And once they're in that inner circle, they start dismantling the red's empire from the inside.
What about the yellows? The chatty, happy ones?
Yellows are, they're walking targets for one specific thing, flattery. Yellows love to be like, they absolutely thrive on praise.
So the psychopath just butters them up?
Constantly. They'll shower yellow with compliments. You are so creative. You are the funniest person in this office. You should be on TV. And the yeller just eats it up. They're so busy soaking up the love that they don't look at any of the warning signs.
And yellows are also, let's just say, not always the most organized people.
That is their other big vulnerability. Yellows often leave a trail of chaos, unfinished projects, lost paperwork, so a psychopath can just swoop in and say, don't you worry about all that, I'll handle the boring details for you.
And the yellow is so relieved.
So relieved they hand over the keys to the castle. The book talks about this chaotic tech entrepreneur who hired people just like her, fun and creative, but the business was a total disaster because nobody was checking the books. A psychopath in that environment could embezzle everything, and the yellows would just be smiling and brainstorming the next big app feature.
Plus, yellows avoid conflict. If the psychopath is smiling, the yellow assumes everything is just fine.
Exactly. They ignore the red flags because they don't want to ruin the vibe. They prioritize the relationship over the reality.
Okay, moving on to the greens. The stable, kindness first folks.
Yeah.
This one feels like the saddest one to me.
It is. Greens are the most common victims because they're so helpful and so loyal. A psychopath exploits that loyalty. They'll play the victim. Oh, my boss is so mean to me, or my ex was just crazy. The greens' instinct is to nurture and protect them.
And greens hate conflict even more than yellows do.
Oh, absolutely. A green will stay in a toxic situation for years because they are terrified of rocking the boat. They'll do all the work while the psychopath takes all the credit just to avoid an argument.
Wow.
The psychopath knows the green won't fight back. They are the perfect victim in that sense, silent and hardworking. They can drain a green completely dry, and the green will probably apologize for running out of blood.
So that leaves the blues, the analytical perfectionists. The book seems to imply they're the hardest to fool.
They are. Because you can't charm a blue. You say, you're the smartest person I've ever met, and a blue thinks, okay, what do you want? You say, this deal is amazing, and the blue says, show me the data.
They fact-check everything.
Everything. They remember every detail. If a psychopath lies and says, I never said that, the blue will pull out meeting minutes from 3 months ago and say, actually, on Tuesday the 14th at 2:15 p.m., you did. They are the natural enemy of the psychopath because they deal in cold, hard facts.
So are they immune? Is there no way in?
Not entirely. Their weakness is often their social isolation. Because blues can be seen as cold, rigid, and critical, they often don't have a strong support network at work.
Oh, okay.
A psychopath can isolate a blue even further.
Yeah.
They can whisper to everyone else, oh, you know how rigid Bob is. He's just impossible to work with. They can make the blue the enemy. So while the blue is right about the facts, they lose the social game. They might get fired for not being a team player, while the charming psychopath gets a promotion.
Wow. So no matter what color you are, there is a way in.
Which brings us to the defense strategies.
Yeah.
How do we lock the door?
The first tool the book suggests is something called the Johari window. Can you break that down for us?
It's a psychological model with 4 quadrants, 4 panes in a window. 1, the arena. This is what everyone knows about you, your public self. 2, the facade. This is what you hide from others, your secrets.
Okay.
3, the unknown. This is what nobody knows, not even you, your subconscious. And 4, the blind spot. This is what other people see in you, but you don't see in yourself.
And the danger zone is that blind spot.
Exactly. The psychopath studies you. They see your blind spots immediately. Maybe you don't realize that you're desperate for approval, like a yellow. Or maybe you don't realize you're absolutely terrified of confrontation, like a green. The psychopath sees it crystal clear, and they target it.
So the defense is, well, it's self-awareness.
You have to shrink your blind spot. You need to do what the book calls a weakness inventory. It sounds painful, but you have to sit down and be honest with yourself. I am impulsive, or I am way too easily flattered, or I am too conflict averse. If you know your weakness, you can guard it.
Right.
If you know you're a sucker for flattery, then when someone starts praising you excessively, your alarm bells will ring instead of your ego just swelling up.
Another huge defense factor is self-worth.
This is fundamental. Psychopaths are bullies. They look for the wounded animal in the herd. If you have low self-esteem, if you believe I don't deserve love, or I'm just lucky anyone wants to hire me, you are broadcasting a signal that says, exploit me.
It's like blood in the water for a shark.
It absolutely is. Erikson is very clear on this. You must value your own respect. If a relationship, romantic or professional, is draining you, if it consistently makes you feel small, you have to have the self-worth to walk away. You cannot change a psychopath. You can only remove yourself from their sphere of influence.
And in terms of, practical tactics day to day, what can we do?
Number 1, go slow. Psychopaths create this sense of artificial urgency. We have to decide now. We have to get married right now.
Right.
Counter it by slowing everything down. Even if you're a red, force yourself to act like a blue. Check the facts. Sleep on it. Time is the enemy of the psychopath because their mask gets really heavy. The longer you wait, the more likely that mask is going to slip.
And verify everything.
Verify everything. If the story is too tragic, check it. If a resume is too perfect, call the references. If they claim they know the CEO, check with the CEO's assistant. As the book says, the closer to the truth, the better to lie. But there's always a crack in the story somewhere.
The book ends with this really stark anecdote about how the Inuits used to deal with psychopaths in their communities.
The Inuit solution. It's brutal, but it's so telling. In small tribal societies, a psychopath is an existential threat to survival. If a man feigned injury to avoid hunting and then stole food or assaulted women while the hunters were away, the tribe simply couldn't sustain that. They couldn't imprison him.
So what did they do?
So they would wait until he was asleep, pick him up, and put him on an ice floe. And then just push him out to sea.
Chilling.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you can't put our boss on an ice floe. I think HR would probably have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a compliance issue there.
But the principle stands. The modern equivalent is the freeze out. You cut contact. You detach emotionally. You become what they call a gray rock. Boring, unreactive, completely uninteresting. You stop feeding them the drama and the attention that they crave. You push them out of your village emotionally and socially.
That is a really powerful image to end on.
It really is.
So what does this all mean for us? I think the biggest takeaway is that we just have to stop being naive. We want to believe everyone is basically good. We want to believe that if we're nice, people will be nice back. But the reality is there is that 2 to 4% who are operating by a completely different rule book.
That's it. We need to stop projecting our own conscience onto people who simply don't have one. We need to stop looking at the sheep and start keeping an eye out for the wolf.
So here's my challenge to you, the listener. Just look around your life this week. Look at your office, your social circle. Is there someone who leaves a trail of chaos but always has a perfect excuse? Is there someone who smiles just a little too much but never seems to actually help when things get tough?
Yeah.
Is there someone who makes you feel like you're the most important person in the world one minute and then asks you for a small loan the next?
Don't ignore those instincts. If something feels off, it probably is.
Stay safe, stay aware, and keep diving deep. We'll see you next time.